All right, guys. I thought I'd do a video. There's nothing really out there right now that talks about making changes to a blender file after the fact. The stuff that's on the none to done is a little old with the new Blender process. So you see here on the right, I've got this path that I kind of made after the fact, but in reality, this is the drone footage from the course that they sent me. And you see here as I drag it in, there's a little concrete path here now. I've done several changes after getting these drone footages, so I'm getting pretty decent at changing this now in Blender. So I thought I'd do a quick video. Now there might be other ways to do this. I don't know. This is kind of how I'm doing it. I'm not an expert, but a bit of a perfectionist. I think I've run through Blender about 11 times on this course already with some changes. So basically I'm going to put this path in here. So I'm going to get rid of this. You can see I've got this dirt path right now, but there's going to be some terrain work involved as I go down here and stuff like that. I'm just going to move my microphone over, and because there's this hump here and stuff like that, so I got to bring that down, because in reality that hump's not there anymore. So a little bit of work I'm going to have to do. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do too much here, but we'll take a look at it. So the first thing we got to do, and I've done this, is build it in Inkscape, which I've done, and then I've sent it with the no-sat off to Blender. I'm waiting back for that. And then the next thing I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to get this into, I'm going to get my SVG into here so I can take a look at it. And then I'm going to terrain shape this. So I'm just going to pause it for a second here while I get this all set up. Then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Okay, I've got my SVG now in Unity. You can terrain sculpt in Blender, but I find a lot of the bigger things easier in Unity, so that's what I'm going to do here. I've got this in wireframe just so you can see it a little easier, shaded wireframe, but you can see my new path here. The concrete path is kind of right there. So what I'm going to do here is, I don't like this little hump here. I'm going to make this nice and smooth. You can smooth these again if you want it in Blender with the new tools, but I'm going to just go ahead and do that here right now. And then I've added a little gap. There's a little gap here that I'm going to fix in Blender later. So I'm going to go do all this. So I'm going to do all my terrain sculpting here. Again, I'm not going to go over this too much. I want to keep this video relatively short. So I'm going to go do that. And then when I'm done, I will come back and I will show you what I've done. Just one thing I would do here is I do your backup of your terrain. Anytime you're going to mess with your terrain, do a backup. So I'm going to do a backup. Then I'm going to go play with my new terrain here and go from there. I've submitted my my file, my Inkscape no-sat to Blender. I'm waiting to get back from that, but so that's done. But in the meantime, we're going to do some terrain shaping here. So once that's done, I'll come back here. I've gone and I've carved this terrain how I want it here. Now, normally I use RAM to do my paths. I still do it, especially, you can see I do mountain courses, so most of the time. So I didn't do it on this one just because I don't want to play too much with the terrain, just for gapping issues later in my blend file. But for now, you can see that's pretty good. All right, so that's pretty good. I can work with that in Blender. So now I'm happy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this terrain to an OBJ, an object, and then I will go grab my Blender file and bring everything up in Blender, and I will pause, and once I get that done, we'll continue on from there. Okay, here's the new download from Blender. I've imported my new terrain OBJ, and I've meshed. I've gone ahead and conformed to terrain on the selected meshes that are kind of in play here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not going to waste time on this showing you how, but I level one of the nice things now is especially with Afrod's tools, you can do an outset on leveling T boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then also over here, whoops, what I'm going to do here, let's grab my other stuff, is I'm going to go ahead and model this so it's a nice open edge, close to this other cart path. I don't want to do anything with this cart path here because it's pretty big, and when you start I'll get into it, but when you bring these into your current working copy, you will get the odd little gap that you're going to have to go fix and stuff like that. So I want to minimize the amount of meshes I'm messing with. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once I'm done, I'll come back and then we'll go from there. All right, so I've done my modeling now in the blend file that I downloaded. So this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. I've got the blends and stuff like that all now. So now what I'm going to do is this where it gets a little tricky. So I've made a backup of my current working copy that's in the other window. I'll bring it in here right away. But do a backup of your good copy, because if anything screws up, you can always go back and use that. I'm going to drag it in here right now. But here's my current good copy, and you see this is where it's going to go, the path. So what I'm going to do is, because I did some work on these tee boxes, because it was coming down here, I did some terrain work and stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead, and this is, you know, stuff that we're all just gonna have to play with and see how it goes. This might get a little long here as I go through stuff, but I know all that stuff. I'm going to, now I've done, this is my working copy. I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna delete this. I've also written down the name of these splines, because sometimes on the new file or in the new folder, the new blend, the name might be slightly different, so that might change how we do things later and stuff like that. And I know this one's got some work on it, so I'll delete that one, and then this one obviously. So that's basically, these are the splines I've basically worked with. So what I'm going to go do now is I'm going to go grab my new splines. So I've got this one, and all these here, which are going to be worked on. Yeah, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click, copy objects, and then I'm going to go back into my other one here, which is right here. I'm going to go paste objects, and there we go. So it came in pretty good. All right, now what I have to do is I have to go around here and I have to look for little gaps, because there will be gaps between stuff. But just because I did so much work on the current working copy of mine around here, like I smoothed out the card paths using A-Fraud's tools, I flattened and stuff like that. So I might get some gaps here. So what I'm going to do, and this is usually the lengthy part, but maybe we can find a couple. I'll fix them with you, and then I'll go ahead and I'll fix them all and then go from there. So let's see if I can find some here. There's always, oh yeah, I see some already. See right here. You can see some right there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tab, and then I'm going to select this numpad, and so you can see here we've got a couple spots where it's done some. I'm just going to do some work here so we know these ones. Did I change that one? I must have. Anyway, I got some work to do. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to, let's start in this corner. Let's just do all this. But you can see this whole thing has pretty much got a gap in it, right? So it takes a little time. So let's start here, and then I'm going to go around and go from there. So let's see here. Let's go. Now what I normally do is I normally just grab it. I put my snapping on, make sure it's in vertex mode. And then what I'll do here is I'm going to switch this to tweak, grab this one, and just grab it. And it should, as I get closer, snap, right? But it's not, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do here now is, what I'll do is I'll get out of tab. I will select these and I'll tab it. And you can see now where all these little guys line up, right? So this guy I got to grab, I bring over to ham. This guy I grab, I bring over to ham. So on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this whole thing now. Takes a little bit of time, but I'm going to clean this up, right? This, let's go x-ray, see where that guy is. That guy's right here. Let's bring him up here, take x-ray off, right? That might look a little weird. Yeah, that looks a little weird. So I got to do a little bit of molding here, obviously, to make that look better. You know, maybe, no, I don't want to mess with, that's a big thing. So I'm just going to, let's just do this here right now. So don't do that. Control Z for that. All right, let's just do this here. These guys need to come up. So what I'm going to do here is let's grab this, bring it to, yep. Okay, so these are all good. So this is kind of weird in here, right? So you can see that. So what I'm going to do, and again, the reason I had this is because I did some terrain sculpting in here on the blend, on the one I just downloaded. So, and this is the current one. I don't think I brought in that. I could have probably changed it up, but whatever. I'm just going to change these in here, and no big deal. So let's go. So let take a hike. Control Z for that. Let's grab that. Let's make sure that that's good. Okay, let's take snap off. Let's go proportional editing up top. I'm going to select these guys. No, don't do that. And then what I'm going to do here is let's go G, Z. Why are you moving everything? Okay, I got to figure this out here. Hold on, stand by, and I'll be right back. My circle was too big, so that's why. So I just made the circle bigger. So GZ, and then what I'm doing here is I'm box selecting. Oh, no, I don't want that. Oh, you little bastard. Okay, let's go. Oh, that's because I got tweak. Always something. It's always, Blender is just a finicky little girl. GZ. There we go. And we'll just get it bring it looking nice. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. GZ, just kind of, you know, respectable. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean all this up, make it look nice, and then clean all these little, there we go. And then, again, Unity's, if you can get this down in Unity, that's better, but sometimes you just got, and honestly, nobody will see what you're doing here. Once you get this in the game, I'll probably smooth this out also after. So I'm going to do all that. And I'll come back once it's all done. I got all these gaps, and then we'll go from there. All right, I got it all good here. So here it's done. It's all, the meshes are tight and stuff like that. I'll do a check in Unity later. But now basically what I've got to do is I've got to get these, all these meshes I messed with in Unity. So I basically have it now that I can go, I put it basically into my, straight into my FBX folder in the game and stuff like that. So let's just go for it here. I've done backups. Again, do a backup on your Unity file also. You can't back up enough. It just takes once for you to lose like a day, 2 days work, and then you'll never do it again. So let's do this here. Let's go. I'm going to select basically all these things that I think got touched on, and this guy too. Let's see here. Did that guy get touched? I don't think I messed with this guy when I snapped. I think I snapped on all these existing ones. Anything you did, you would have to re-enter. So I didn't touch these when I snapped the vertices. So let's go that. I think I've got it selected here, and let's export selected FBXs. And there we go. Now I will wait for Unity to open up, and then we will get them in Unity and go from there. And it'll be a bit of a mess, but if you name these properly, it shouldn't be an issue here. So I will wait for Unity to load, and I will get them in the game, and let's see how it looks. All right. It's coming pretty good here. I've had to, when I brought it in, I've updated a few paint geometry after mesh imports and stuff like that. So I've got it working pretty good here. Another gap I got to fix. I'll go do that in Blender. But let's get this concrete path in here now. So I know for a fact that it's 933 off the ones I blender. So here are the two FBXs. So I'm just going to bring those in, and voila. So what I'll do on these now also is I will set default materials, just because I don't like to miss anything. Some guys will just put the components in themselves. But what I'll do here is I'll set default materials. So you'll see my cart path will all go wonky after I do that. See, it goes to reference something else. So basically here on the concrete asphalt, I'll just set my proper one. It goes to my initial, which was my Google inner. It goes to my initial when I did the initial set mesh and stuff like that. But I know that these are cart path PNG. PNG is less of a file size, a little easier, so there we go. And then this guy here, the blend, is, I know for, it is under, where did I get it there? Was it concrete? I think it's this guy here, concrete. No, is it concrete mass, asphalt default? What's this one? Is this the one? No, that's not it. Let's see here, concrete, maybe it's under default. Here we go, I think this is it. All right, let's go back there. It's always a bit of a trial and error with this stuff. There we go, yeah, darker. Okay, so now you can see I've got some vert paint I got to deal with here and stuff like that, but this is basically how it's going to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go clean all this up and then come back. But here you can see all I've got to do here is open the vertex painter and paint this red, and it kind of all goes away, right? Stuff like that. So there we go. So that looks pretty good. I'm not going to worry about, again, I don't want to mess with this whole blend. If I was really anal, I would deal with this and get rid of this, which I normally am, and I probably will after the fact. But again, I don't want to mess, well, you know, no. Well, what the heck? Maybe I will. I'm going to go clean this up, and I'm going to get rid of this also, and then I'm going to add some track lines in Photoshop here and get that done, and then I'll come and show you the finished product, and then I will get VS Pro back in, and we'll update that for that, and then we'll look at how it looks. All right, I got it everything in here where everything's set. I've closed all the gaps. I put some mow lines or some track lines in. All right, so the next thing here would be to turn on VS Pro. And let's see what we're dealing with here. I'll run the scene. Give it a second. So my grass has come in. Nice view of my donkeys there. All right, so that's pretty good. Now the only thing is here, because I've modified the terrain, let's put a human height guy in here. Focus on him. Is you got to make sure that anything you've planted is going to be on your foliage terrain, which that's based on my old terrain, right? So the grasses could be out on VS Pro. I'm not sure how Arborist works, but this is looking pretty good here, actually. It looks like my grasses, because I modified this area, I lowered it, but it looks like all my grasses, nothing's floating here, so that's good. I mean, you might have to do some work, but you can see here now I've got to move this biome over, move this one over, do some painting. So I'm going to make this all look nice, and then we'll come back with a finished look at it, all right? All right, pretty much done here. I've got this area all kind of like I wanted here. I'm going to clean up this little bit here on this vert painting. I've also opened up that field a fair bit. It was way too congested with trees, as you can see now, but I mean, it's let's bring this up here. Come on, let's go back a bit. All right, it's looking pretty good. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. One thing I'm not happy with, and I will do this, see how this got a kind of a rough line of 3DG here. So I'm gonna clean this up, and I'll give you a little way I do this. So while I've got you here, so I'm gonna go vert paint this black all along here. Okay, let's just go there, and then kind of fade it out a bit at the end here. And we'll see how this looks. And let's bake it. Let's get rid of the black channel. Obviously gets rid of the 3D grass. So yeah, that's not bad. So let's do a little bit of red here, adding back into it. See here. All right, that's kind of where the grass fades out. Perfect. So let's bake that again. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into red here and just kind of, well, I'll just do a fill it. All right, but I'm not going to bake it again. So when this is driving me nuts here, I'm going to clean this up right now. Let's go. This is another texture I put in the moss here, but I'm just going to clean that up. Actually, I don't know how I like that. Let's do a smaller brush size, lighter flow. There we go. There we go. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good transition. Let's run this scene. Yeah, that's pretty good. And you see how the grass isn't so hard, such a hard line now. Let's run this scene, and then we'll see what we've done. So basically, while we wait for it to load here, I basically drew it in Inkscape, submitted it to the Blender, did my terrain work in Unity, then I conformed the meshes to terrain in Blender, copy all those ones I worked on, pasted it into the current working copy, and then fixed the little gaps that you saw. Then we exported all that into Unity. We updated our meshes in Unity and redid our vert painting and made the vegetation conform, all that stuff, and this is what we've got now. So here we go. All right, so there we go. So that's pretty much the look I wanted here. Yeah, so that's basically how I did it. Drop me a message if you have any questions and stuff like that. But that's how you can basically update and add stuff in Inkscape and bring it into your working copy and get it to flow.